what got you into analyst relations though? And like what's your life story in 30 seconds here, if you will?
30 seconds. Okay. I was in B2B tech marketing my whole career, had done just about everything, was in product marketing for a company about 15 years ago, and they decided to start up an analyst relations program. They really didn't have one. And they turned to me and asked me if I would do it. I knew nothing about, I knew very little about really how to do analyst relations, but I thought it was a great challenge and I jumped in. And I have to say that as soon as I started to understand everything that was involved in it, I was hooked. And very soon I decided, after my whole career of being a jack of all trades and a master of nothing, I said, this is my thing. This I feel connected to.
Wow, you know what? That's such a great feeling when you really connect to that thing that you realize this is what I'm going to do in my career.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Small Talk Window podcast, where we have a small window of time, dispense with the small talk as quickly as possible, and settle into a meaningful conversation related to the world of work. And for this episode of the Small Talk Window podcast, Robin Schaffer, Principal AR Consultant at Schaffer AR, joins me to discuss just what an industry analyst is and how the market can best leverage them. Welcome, Robin.
Well, thank you, Brent. I'm really excited about being here with you, and I love the format, so I'm really excited to get into it.
Oh, thank you very much. Most of us have heard of firms like Gartner, IDC, and Forrester, but what do we know about industry analysts really? What is their purpose? What do they do? What is the industry analyst landscape? What does it look like? And how it relates to the world of work, specifically human capital management, that market space. It extends far beyond the big three mentioned here. I can tell you that. What got you into analyst relations though? And like what's your life story in 30 seconds here, if you will?
30 seconds. Okay. I was in B2B tech marketing my whole career, had done just about everything, was in product marketing for a company about 15 years ago, and they decided to start up an analyst relations program. They really didn't have one. And they turned to me and asked me if I would do it. I knew nothing about, I knew very little about really how to do analyst relations, but I thought it was a great challenge and I jumped in. And I have to say that as soon as I started to understand everything that was involved in it, I was hooked. And very soon I decided, after my whole career of being a jack of all trades and a master of nothing, I said, this is my thing. This I feel connected to. And I also feel that all the different experiences I've had kind of, fold into this and really benefit it. So it was a really exciting thing for me. That was about 15 years ago.
Wow, you know what? That's such a great feeling when you really connect to that thing that you realize this is what I'm going to do in my career. And we could do a whole other episode on that topic, and maybe we will someday. Yeah. But getting into the topic at hand, industry analysts and all that. What exactly are industry analysts anyway? I mean, there's a lot of people in our audience. It's just this weird thing. They've heard of them maybe, or maybe they haven't, and they just need to know. And they've also heard maybe of influencers, and they're wondering, is there overlap? How are they different? What's going on here?
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to try to keep it short because I could talk about this topic for a long time. What are analysts? So an analyst at the core is someone who researches something, right? They may research a technology domain like HR, tech, or they may research the technology happening in a region or in an industry, but they foremost are researchers. They become experts on that topic, and they become analysts on that topic. So there are all kinds of analysts, but industry analysts are what we're referring to here. When I talk to customers, I quickly bring up, or anybody, I'm sorry, I quickly bring up Gartner, IDC, those names, because people recognize those names. They may not recognize the term industry analysts, but those are firms that are well known in the market that do that research, and they advise buyers and help buyers make decisions, which is why they're so influential. They're not influencers, but they're influential. And they help vendors understand how to tune their messaging, their product roadmaps, and all that, and really make their business better. And play a very, very important and interesting role in the technology ecosystem.
So, a couple of things. First off, I am remiss here in informing the audience, in case they haven't read my bio. I've actually been an industry analyst twice in my career, which is, and I loved the role. And you really did a great job of sort of capturing what an industry analyst is for our audience. And so, thank you on that. Could you just maybe go into a little bit just about the influencer piece of it?
Yes.
Who are influencers? How are they kind of the same, but kind of mostly different?
So there is overlap. It's gray. It's not like a hard distinction. But in general, an influencer is someone that you pay specifically to talk about your brand, to write about you, blog about you, cover you, and it's a contractual relationship where that's their job, is to get your name out there. And there is a place for that. Analysts don't do that. That's not their model. Their model is really to understand an industry, to be able to represent it to buyers and write about it. And they tend to become influential with buyer conversations on behalf of vendors, but that's not their job. That's not what they see themselves doing. So it's not like you can go to a true analyst and say, how much to promote me? They don't do it that way. So I want to just say they're very influential, but they're not influencers the way influencer is used in the market. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. There's when you're an industry analyst, there's a little bit more of you're a third party. There's an impartiality there. You're very familiar with the market. You have opinions about the space. You may have vendors that you think are better than others at doing certain things. You may have very strong opinions on what customers should do when it comes to vendors, or even when it comes to just their HCM operations. These are sorts of things that we're talking about HCM specifically, but there's sort of you don't quite go across that line where you're speaking on behalf of one vendor or another, right? There's that impartiality that's always there, and I think you captured it really, really well. How do industry analysts factor? Maybe it's a good segue. How do they industry analysts factor into the HCM market specifically?
That's so good. And I worked in HCM. I worked for an ERP vendor that had a pretty strong HCM suite. So I got very involved in the HCM analyst market and was pleasantly surprised when I started to do that, to see there are so many firms and individuals that play in that space. So if you look at the landscape, you've got, everybody talks about Gartner, Forrester, and IDC. Those are the big three firms. And what's interesting about those firms is they cover many, many, many different technology domains. So they will have a HCM practice and have analysts that focus on HCM. So if you have a Gartner relationship or an IDC relationship, you can identify those specific analysts and work with them to help you.
Tonight on NBC, Jimmy Fallon and Bozoma St. John host the highly anticipated new competition show.
I hired 10 creatives from all walks of life. They will be battling it out to see who can impress the world's biggest brands.
This is a huge opportunity.
This is the battle for the next big idea.
This is not play.
We're spending millions of dollars.
I'm so excited to embark on this adventure with all of you.
May the best idea win!
On Brand with Jimmy Fallon, series premiere tonight on NBC.
When your investors, customers, and workers demand more from your business, make it happen with SAP. The AI-powered capabilities of SAP can help you streamline costs, connect with new suppliers, and manage payroll, even when your business is being pulled in different directions. To deliver a quality product at a fair price while paying your people what they're worth too, so your business can stay unfazed. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
Improve your business and also to influence the buyers that they talk to. If you build an advocacy type relationship, it's very nuanced and complex, but there are those big firms. Then there are, there's a million types of firms. There are mid-sized firms that are similar to those big ones in structure, just smaller. And some of the pretty big firms focus on HCM, and that's the core of what they do. So there are a handful of firms that have multiple analysts and focus. And then there is a long tail of individuals like Brent, and like other people in the market that are helping buyers and helping vendors be more successful that have an HCM focus. So it happens to be, I said I was pleasantly surprised with how many HCM analysts and also consultants, which are similar, are out there ready to help, whether you're a vendor or a buyer, make good decisions and advance your company. The thing is that HCM tech is, HR tech is such a hot, interesting, complex market with so many pieces to it that there's room for a lot of people to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about that long tail. We have about 2 minutes or so, but we always go a little bit over on Small Talk Window podcast. It's a little secret between us and everybody who's listening. But anyway, you talk about that long tail after the big three, and there's like the beginning of it, not to take the metaphor too far, the imagery too far, but the beginning of a tail is kind of, it's thicker, right? And there's sort of those boutique firms that they're not small, but they're not as big as the others, right? And then beyond that, you have some of the folks who maybe have 2 or 3 people who work together, and then you have the individual folks who they might be strategic advisors even, and there's a little bit of influencer in them and a little bit of industry analyst DNA in them as well, and so the world is really your oyster, especially in the HCM space, the world of workspace. It's particularly teaming with all sorts of people in it, so you have sort of the pick of the litter. And I want to make sure we get to this last question because I think it really ties everything together. What value do industry analysts bring to both vendors and buyers?
Yeah, that's so good. And we've kind of alluded to it here, but I'll be more specific. So if I'm a buyer, if I work for an enterprise and I'm looking and I have a problem, and but I have a technology problem.
Yeah.
I would consult an industry analyst who would help me think through how to solve that problem with technology, and maybe start with, I don't know how to solve this, and start with, well, you need to think about this kind of strategy. You need this sort of technology stack. You need this solution for your problem. And here are vendors. And then even now I'm in a final selection of a vendor. So an analyst can help a buyer in the whole cycle of that buying journey, from discovering what a solution might be to all the way through even negotiating a solution with a vendor. They can help in that whole cycle for the buyers. So it's Somehow, some ways, it's a little bit of a CYA, if you know that acronym.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you're making good decisions and you want to have some backup, and buyers really value that input from analysts to help them make decisions. And it just adds a lot of value to the buyers. For the vendors, it's interesting because the analysts know the buyers and know what the buyers' needs are. They know the competitors generally. They know all the competitors, which might be direct competitors or might be other ways to solve that problem that you don't directly compete with. So they have this really broad view of what the market is looking for and challenged by. And they can therefore help you tune your messages, find the white space to differentiate yourself. They can help you with your product roadmap and prioritization of products and capabilities. They can help you with your strategy, with your partnerships, with overall go-to-market regions where you want to focus. So they bring an enormous, because they really sit in an interesting crossroads, knowing the competitors, knowing the customers, studying the technology to give you a really valuable feedback and input. And companies that are listening are, and that's not all companies, but companies have the kind of culture that take in that recommendations, that feedback, and listen and act. They become more agile. So you tend to be a much more successful company when you're working with experts like this to help you, as opposed to living in a bubble, which a lot of companies try to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Never a good idea to live in a bubble. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation, Robin.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest, and we will have you back.
We got lots of 10-minute slots we could fill up.